What's up guys, it's Light Spiral here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a video of Adrian in Necro B10. So Adrian is the Fire Elven Ranger right here. This is how mine is going to be runed for this video. You can see it's got max skills, and it's on a Violent Energy set. Violent Revenge is obviously preferred in Necro, and I'll just explain really quick the stats you want to look out for. So preferably you could get some accuracy. The accuracy cap in Necro is 45, so if possible 45 accuracy would be nice, but I didn't get accuracy. 100 crit rate is preferred because the first skill will hit 3 times every time if you have 100 crit rate, because it has an additional chance of firing an additional shot equivalent to your crit rate. So if you have 100 crit rate, every single time you'll do 3 shots instead of 2. But for me, only 97% of the time I'll do that. The speed doesn't matter. Just make sure it's speed tuned with your team. And then other than that, it's got about 1500 and some change on HP, or 15,000 and some change HP. And then about 1500, 1600 attack. So I'll start the run, and I'll explain why Adrian is pretty popular in Necro, as well as why I am using her and how I'm using her, and the different ways other people use her. So first of all, the reason she's pretty popular in Necro is, one, she does multi-hits on both skills. She does a 3-hit on the first and a 4-hit on the second. So people like multi-hits in Necro to break the shield. And then the other reason she's really good is her third skill will buff your speed and crit rate. So when you get to the Necro boss, your speed is limited to 130. So the only way to get more turns in the boss is to either give yourself a speed buff or give the boss a speed debuff, or of course you could do both to get even more turns. And you can't increase your attack bar or decrease the boss's. So speed debuff as well as speed buff are very useful in the boss stage on Necro. So her having a speed buff that is 3 turns long and reusable every 4 turns makes her a pretty good candidate for Necro. The things that lack in her is the fact that other than multi-hits and the buff she has, she doesn't do too much. Her base attack is really low and her multipliers aren't great, so it's hard to get her to do decent damage. So the way I have her runed is kind of a hybrid of a tank and a damage dealer. At one point I had her as a tank, and basically I just used her as a shield breaker, but then I wanted to increase the speed of the run a little bit, so I gave Adrian a little bit more damage. And so I do think it's a little better on a damage build. You could build it a complete damage build, but then you always risk it dying in the third stage, because anything that's really squishy will always have potential to die in the third stage, because the mini boss attacks random targets, and so you always have the potential to die basically if they're too squishy. But the 16,000 HP, I think it was, maybe 15,000, whatever amount of HP and defense mine is on right now is enough for it to survive 99% of the time. I'd imagine it would die if it took all 4 hits, but I don't think that's happened to me yet. So that's like that, I guess. The way that I would speed sync Adrian is I would always speed sync Adrian to be your shield breaker. So basically you want her in your top 3 fastest, because normally your first 3 guys will break the shield and your last 2 will apply speed debuff and defense break. So in this case, the speed order goes Colleen, and then I want to say Adrian, Panda, and then the 2 liches, but the Panda might be faster than the Adrian. I don't remember. I'll show you another run though really quick. And so basically the plan is Colleen does a double hit, the Panda does a triple hit, Adrian does a triple hit, and then I can apply speed debuff and defense break with the liches. And so this team works pretty good, and if you do build this exact team, this is typically around 3.5 minutes for me. Of course, you could use the water lich instead of the dark lich, and that should work fine. Um, you could use stuff other than the liches, but I think the liches are just the best necro damage dealers. You could use Rakshasas if you wanted there. You could use the Cowgirls if you wanted, but I prefer the liches in that spot. But so yeah, basically, this time hopefully I'll stop it when it gets to the boss stage so we can see how much damage Adrian does, and that was with about 1500 attack and 100 crit damage if I remember right. So they're not insane stats at all for damage dealing purposes. As well as one way to get her more damage would actually be to give her accuracy, because the second skill will apply dot for one turn 4 times if you have enough accuracy to actually land the dots. So that's an extra 20% of the boss's HP right there. And the first skill will also have a chance to block heals, which is really good for Necro actually. Or not necessarily really good, but it is useful in Necro, because when the boss attacks you, he does have a life drain effect. So he doesn't really gain that much HP, but he does get a little bit back. So it's always nice to not let him get any back. And is this stage 4 right here? We'll see in a second. Yeah, it was stage 4. So I'm going to pause it so we can see how much damage Adrian will do if I have attack buff and defense break. So let me try and get defense break up. Okay, so if I can get defense break here, no, I got resisted at least 2 or 3 times. I didn't see exactly. Can the panda give me a defense break maybe? Okay, it can. So we'll see. It's going to attack 3 times, and it does 4.2 times 3 on the first skill. So here, wait, let me see what the second skill does too. Dang it, the shield's up. So I'll refresh the attack buff. I don't want the boss to die here, but I think he's going to die. Yeah, he's going to die. Okay, so that's not ideal. But let me just see what the second skill does also with these current stats. No, don't want to use that up yet. So I should have used the buff to get the counterattack. Defense break on this. No. Defense break. Okay, so now we can see what this does. That looked like about 5. So the second skill does 20,000 with these stats. And the first skill did 4.2 times 3. That's like 12.6. So we'll just say like 12.5. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not really insane damage. 12,000 on the first skill and 20,000 on the second skill. It's nothing crazy, but the amount of damage she can do in combination with, they're both multi-hits to break the shield, as well as you've got a heal block, you've got dots, and you have a speed buff, which is super useful in Necro. And the crit rate buff is also nice if you do take advantage of it. Of course, my Adrian doesn't really need the crit rate buff because it's already at 97, but I did build my liches with the crit rate buff in mind, so I only got them to 70. So my liches are both on 100 if the buff is up, and the buff is up like 75% of the time because it's a 3-turn buff, you reusable every 4 turns. So that's kind of why Adrian is used a lot, and I do think Adrian's pretty good. I 6-starred her a while ago, and outside of Necro, she's useless, but in Necro, she does do pretty well. So I'll show you the runes and skill ups on my whole team if you guys are trying to replicate this. This is just a 5-star panda. It's on Violent and Blade. You don't really need the Blade, I just probably had decent Blade runes. I don't have any skill ups in this one. It's got max accuracy in Necro, which is 45. And then the turn order, this is the second fastest, so he can break the shield. And then this amount of HP and defense is enough for him to survive. Then we've got my Colleen, who's actually runed for raid, so you don't need her close to this fast. But Violent Revenge, that's pretty much the perfect build. It's max skilled, max accuracy. It's really fast and way tankier than it needs to be, so you don't need to make yours that good. Here's the Adrian again. Like I said, Violent Energy, if Revenge is preferred, max skills. It could use more accuracy. More crit damage and attack would be nice, but the amount of HP and defense is fine, and the speed's okay. I have mine on attack, crit rate, attack, with these runes on the 1, 3, and 5. And then here's the Wind Lich. It's on Violent Blade. Of course, Revenge is better. But this one's max skilled. It's got max accuracy and max crit rate with the buff, as well as it's the second slowest. And this amount of HP and defense, it'll survive perfectly fine because it's got the shield. And then that amount of damage is okay. And then this Lich has no skill ups. Fatal Blade. Violent Revenge would be better. It has 0 speed, but it's okay because it's just a damage dealer. And then the amount of attack and crit damage is good. The amount of HP and defense is enough for it to survive with its passive. If you are going to be using the Water Lich, you might want it a little tankier. I'm not exactly sure. And then it's max accuracy. So that's really all I got for this team, guys. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, be sure to just tell me in the comment section, and I'll likely answer it soon. But that's all I have for today, though, guys. So may the best year today's be the worst year tomorrow's.